Paris, and I wasn't that keen on Taschism or the French painters. I wanted to do something that I hadn't really seen yet. You know, something that, let's find something that I see in fragments. You know, I mean, here's a yellow and there's a blue, and, you know, and I see things like that and it hits me. And that's when I'm hit, then I have to do it.
Thank goodness you've been hit.
Yeah.
Because I think your color is extraordinary, and the variety and the way you put the colors together and the way they react with each other by being juxtaposed or even in the same room. The last shows that you had at Matthews, I thought were with the ones that were along the one wall, all the different shapes and colors, was just, I was sitting at the dinner across from him and I kept thinking, you know, I could die now and I'd be in heaven, because this is really so amazing to see how you could do so much and get so much out of just those colors.
I had heard of Aggie because she bought my first show at Leo Castelli was in '75, and it was 10 different totems. And I came in one day and Leo said, "Oh, Agnes Gund bought one." And I said, "Oh, you're the only one." A number of years ago, I went into the hospital.
I sent you.
You sent flowers.
And you made.
I made a drawing,
fabulous drawing
in the bed and gave it back to you.
Yeah, it was.
And wonderful. I feel that we had made this nice swap. I had a good teacher, a really good teacher. And I guess more that he couldn't really make a drawing that, I mean, a drawing like an old master, say. But he can teach you how to see it. And that's what I was drawing one day in the beginning, and he came up and said, "Oh, you haven't got that shoulder. Your shoulder's very hard to." Yeah. And he took a pencil and he made 3 lines. And I said, "Oh, how did you do that?" You know, and he said, "I'm going to teach you." Yeah. And I had with him about 6 months. And then one day I was up in Skowhegan, and I did this drawing, and I said, "Oh my God, I could try anything."
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was about seeing and then sort of owning your face. Yeah. I mean, I take your head and I sort of own it. And I mean, it's not that word, not that verb. It's like possessing what you're looking at. And then, you know, my eyes are doing it all the time. Like, that shoulder is way over there and this shoulder is here, so that's small and this is big. And exaggerations. And then the face is very hard because it's rather not flat, but I mean, it's frontal, and there's the nose that's sticking out. And, you know, and then to make, I mean, your face is going back like that. And, you know, I see that going into space. And that's what I think drawing is not copying at all. You don't think you have to copy that line. You have to understand it.
Yeah,
and your hand has to pick up the weight and do exactly what your eye is telling you. You see, I guess I feel my eye is not exactly, I don't own my eyes. You mean my eyes are somehow critical And they tell me, I guess, when I'm doing something wrong. The color is a need, I mean, I do a lot of black and white paintings.
Yeah, I know.
And I think black and white,
right?
yeah, black and white is, where there's no color, but I still call black and white a color because it's part of the painting. But it's more, when I get a new idea, sometimes I start with a black and white. And I guess every, say, series that I've done, there's always been a black and white in there. Yeah. And then sometimes I've done shows of just black and white.
But see, that's what is so amazing, is that you can make black and white do so many things together that you think, well, you have an end point where you wouldn't be able to expand on that, and make more paintings that were black and white that were all different and all very forceful. Can I ask you where, because color was so big with Mondrian in a way, but where did you get your color sense? Where did your, interest in these wonderful colors?
When I started, I did mostly white reliefs. I was always interested in the low relief, and I did some cardboard reliefs on wood, and then black entered into my palette. I did a lot of black and white things, and then all of a sudden, a green would appear. And then a couple of weeks later, there would be a blue maybe coming. And the colors came very slowly, but I was, of course, I say European color at that time was very different than American color with the abstract expressionists here. There was muted color, mixed colors, but nothing like color like the red dress. That color at its way there.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to bring it
very forceful.
And think of early Kandinsky in 1910.
Yeah.
His colors. And then Leger, as early as 1912, did blocks of color. And that's the color that I sort of developed. And I said, I like the spectrum.
That spectrum is one of my
you have a little drawing. You have
modern.
that early 1953 spectrum collage,
which is a tissue.
Yeah, I didn't really solve it then. At least I was interested in including all the colors, saying I don't have a color preference. I love all colors equally. Some of them I use less, but I like them all. I love yellow much.
But how do you mean you didn't solve it? What do you mean by that?
Oh, that. I was thinking of doing the spectrum. The idea came from the rainbow, I guess, or what the real spectrum is. And in the rainbow, the yellow is in the middle, and it goes from green to blue to purple, and on the other side to yellow to orange, red to violet. And when I started doing it, I put the yellows at the end and purple in the middle. And I often wonder why I did that, because I didn't even think about putting the yellow in the middle. Maybe I had thought of it and I said, I don't like the yellow, which is closest to white. I felt that wasn't a good center. I wanted a darker center.
Yeah, because the vortex would be more.
So I did that painting, and I did a lot of collages which developed from the chance use of color. I started using color and used all the colors, and then when I came back, and I had my first show at Betty Parsons in '56, and I put in a lot of pictures that I'd done in Europe, and some new ones in New York. A lot of them were black and white from New York. But people didn't really come to the show much. People would come and say, what do you think you're doing, you know? And I felt embarrassed that I had to apologize for using bright colors, you know. I said, I want some joy in what I do.
And I think I should bring up one of my favorite things about Ellsworth is his love of birds and the fact that he's an ornithologist and he knows can recognize birds and know birds, and birds have those colors.
See, when I was sick, when I was quite young, my grandmother and my mother bought me some bird books. And that started me. And then when I was a little older, I would go out and become looking for birds. And I remember that little red and black bird. It was in the pine forest behind the house. And it's only this big. And it kept flitting ahead of me, like it was teasing me to follow it, you know. And I would follow it and look at it, and it was just like magic. And I think something to do about that stayed with my mind, and I didn't really need abstraction in the sense of abstraction painting, because looking at birds and being able to recognize by their color or by their song was that I was delighted in color very early.
Yeah, I think that what you were saying about how you want color to jump out and hit the people, that's what birds do.
Yeah.
When they fly along with those colors and you see them just going by and you know, pick up that color and it just really comes into your soul, kind of.
But I think it has to be experienced.
Yeah.
Everything we look at, you know, is tones of gray and brown, and then every once in a while you see a bright color, and you notice it. The forms I use, you see, the form and the color together is what the content is, and it's to investigate, for the viewer to investigate what they do. You don't, like for instance, with a lot of painters, the idea of what the painting is about, like Marilyn Monroe I always use, that's 80% of the painting somehow, the thinking of it. Right away you say, oh, that's Marilyn Monroe, and he does it so beautifully. So he presents it with a great painting technique. All of his things are done that way. But I felt that I didn't want that. I wanted to paint something I was looking at. I wanted to paint something that I hadn't seen.
I think is the most important thing for people today in museums and going to museums is that they learn about the art by seeing it, and that you can't replace it with the computer and the internet. You just, no matter how much you want to educate people, you have to see the real thing. It's very different than seeing it on the internet.
My paintings have to be seen, I think, because otherwise it looks like a postage stamp or something, a large postage stamp. But, and scale is important because I like paintings a little bit bigger than me. And I'm having a little trouble now raising my arm all the time to make them bigger than me, so they're getting smaller as the ones in the other room. But I'm trying to still do it, you know, with something that you paint something that you want to see.
That last show, I mean, to imagine that you're 90 years old and you're able to come up with these things that you haven't done before and that have the same visceral impact that you have, is just incredible, Ellsworth. I mean, it's wonderful.
Thank you.
It's wonderful for us. And I think, you know, it's because you're in a state that is so magical, because it has all these different things, and maybe that's one part of what's kept you going, to be able to do more and more, that you know, build on your past, but you invent new things. And this is where, when you were younger and the paintings didn't inspire people the way they do now, you become, I think, with all your shows, and especially all the work that you still are able to do, you become the major painter now out there. And that you still do it, I think, is due to not only your environment, but your eye in the environment. So I think that's the important part. You can't dislodge you and the way you look from how you live in the country and in the city that have inspired you. I think my state of mind of New York is having it all. I mean, you have everything here that you can ask for. You have the density, and you have the wideness, the atmosphere.
I feel the real difference is the energy.
Yeah.
New York is moving all the time. And it sparks, or everyone is connecting, or trying to connect. But in the country, you have your own space. And I saw a doctor the other day, and he said, look, everybody needs a holiday. And he said, you need to go away and come back. And I think that I go down to New York a lot, but now that I'm on oxygen, I feel it's more difficult to travel, but I still feel the energy when I go down. You have a question here that says, what was their greatest disagreement? And I think that there's I've never disagreed with you.
No, I don't think I have either. I thought that contention, they said, I remember the word that was used was something that I thought, I haven't had anything like that with Ellsworth.
She's something that she's very positive.
Oh, what was their most outrageous moment together while in the New York art scene? I thought, outrage, it should be extraordinary delight rather than outrage. I never had any, we never had a contention between us.